Welcome back, YouTube. It's me again. Today I'm going to be talking about things to consider before buying an EV or a Tesla. I want to try to make my videos more about EVs versus just being about Tesla, because I'm a big fan of any of the EVs. Well, probably not all of them. I mean, some of them are probably pointless. They're pretty slow. My daughter had a hybrid Lexus. What was it? The H300 or 200, whatever it was. I can outrun it on foot. It was that slow. So I'm not a big fan of those. The ones with like maybe a 2-cylinder engine and a battery engine. But I'm talking about the real ones that are coming out now. I take that back. Those are real as well, so I won't knock anyone who has those, but the horsepower is definitely lacking. But like I said, I want to talk about things you may want to consider if you're thinking about doing a new car, and you see the Teslas, the Ford Mustang Mach-E, the Bolts. Like Porsche has one, Cadillac has one coming out that looks really nice. GM, what they say, they're gonna have like 25 of them being released this year. So for me, things I would consider is what type of driver are you, or what are you going to use it for? And what I mean by that is, if you're planning on, like, you're just going to be hauling and or I mean, I think it can handle it, but like I said, things I would consider is your use. I think it'd be great for people that are like Uber drivers or delivery drivers, things of that nature. Also, you have to figure out, other than how you're going to use it, your family or your home setup and your family's use of it. Right now, it's just I have 3 daughters. 2 of them are out the house. My youngest is still here with us. She goes to NYU, but she's doing the remote because of COVID, so she's still home. But she has her own car, which is parked above me on the lift right now. You can see the frame of the lift, but I'm parked underneath it. So her Volkswagen Beetle convertible is up there. But I think with a like, if you're going to do the car, the Model 3 or something like that, you may want to figure out, okay, how, the weight, things of that nature that will affect your range. But that's why, if you have a larger family, I would push you to the Model Y, or if you can afford it, the X. But with it just being my wife and I, for the most part, the 3 works out fine. So also, if you're doing it for a work commute, you may want to look at, okay, do I need the long range, if I have a short commute? And my story on when I first got my Standard Range Plus back in 2020, which was rated at 250 miles, I was doing a 40-mile-a-day round-trip commute when I worked for Union County. And I was driving my Jeep Wrangler. So for me, I was gassing up my Jeep Wrangler every week. Yeah, every week. I ain't have to guess on it. Every week at about $75 a pop. That got costly. So like I said, that 40-mile round trip, it had me really thinking of, and I was not going to drive a sub, like a little 4-cylinder car. I started kidnapping my daughter's car, her little Beetle, and driving it to work from time to time. But that's what really got me thinking about it. And then what the funny thing is, when I got my Model 3, the very next week I started working at Mecklenburg County, which my office is, I can walk to it in about 30 minutes. It's less than a 5-mile drive. So it's kind of funny. I have this long range Model 3 for a 5-mile commute, and that's probably round trip. That's how close I live to where I work. And so I have like an electric scooter that I would use for it some days. Like I said, I'm all in on this EV stuff. But like I said, you definitely want to look at your use, your commute, look at the price as well. Does it, work in your budget? The Model 3s are not expensive at all. I've told people, if you're looking at buying a Honda Accord or a BMW, I'm parked next to a BMW M3, I think it is. It's one of the nice ones. And I think I'd probably spend less. I can tell you one thing, the Jeep Wrangler that I have, if I was to buy it the way I have it built, from when I got it in 2011, it will run me significantly more than what I paid for my Model 3, which is kind of weird. I don't know if I would spend 50 anything on a Jeep anything, and I love my Jeep Wrangler, but I'm not knocking the people that have done that, but it's a Jeep. I'm not spending 50 grand on it, just to get it. Because it still is a Jeep. But like I said, for me, I'm looking at the price, and you may want to consider, saying, hey, okay, does this fit my budget? And I will tell you, with the amount of money you're gonna save on just almost, if you're like me, you charge for free any day. There's no transmission fluid, oil changes, spark plugs, or any of that stuff you have to worry about. You just, your cost per mile driving, if you're charging for free, is about zero. Unless you count tires, and if you drive it right, you're hardly using your brakes anyway, because you're using that regen braking. So, I hardly ever touch my brakes, so I'm saving my brake pads. I'm sure it's going to be a while before I have to do a brake change. So that's something else you would consider. I mean, your maintenance cost is going to go down significantly, depending on the type. Now, if you're talking hybrids, then yeah, you're still going to have to deal with that. But I'm talking straight up EV cars. I'm not talking the little hybrids, whatever. I'm sure there are a lot of nice ones, but with that, yes, with the hybrids, you're still gonna have to worry about an oil change and all the other stuff that comes along with a regular car. Let's see what else that I would consider, or that I have considered into buying an EV. I know you're gonna have those people that are gonna tell you, and I run into this even working in an environmental field. I still get some of my coworkers saying, well, I would rather have my gas vehicle if I'm taking a road trip. And I don't have those issues. Like I said, I got this long range for the reason of doing road trips, versus when I sold my 2020 Standard Range Plus. There's charging stations everywhere. I don't see why some people, and I get it, a lot of times if you listen to certain news reports or read certain articles, a lot of times you're going to have gas companies that are putting out statements against EV. I've read one article where one gas company is now getting on board with it, but they were putting out a lot of negative PR against electric because they felt it was going to put them out of business. But now they figure out how to tap into it. Now they're on board with it. They said at the time, said recently, the reason why they were talking negative about EVs and electric power and stuff like that, because they didn't want to basically promote anything that will put them out of business. So a lot of people are regurgitating what they hear on talk radio or things of that nature against electric vehicles because, quite frankly, gas companies don't like that. Other people may not like that because it may interfere with their bottom line. I don't worry about their bottom line. I worry about my bottom line and what works out for my family and myself. I am not that type of I won't say patriotic, but I'm not that patriotic enough to the point where I'm going to say I'm going to forego what makes sense for me and my family just to support somebody else make more money by putting gas and buying gas and stuff like that. And I get that EVs, and you hear the other argument, well, EVs, they still use oil to make their products, which I get. And I also recognize that it's just a one-time hit versus constantly having to use oil. But I'm not that type of environmental person, so I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, because that can get heated in the discussions, and I don't want that. This is just me talking about, what I considered. But I wouldn't worry about the range. I can do a quick, let's see, let me flip this around. Here is my dash, and I'm just doing, a quick, people talk about, oh, there aren't any charging stations. All of those letters are different charging stations. The big reds are going to be Teslas. Let me get this out the way. Let me bring this back up. So let me zoom out. As you see more and more red, let me rotate this map. More and more red are those are Tesla super stations or superchargers all across. No matter where you're going, if you're doing a road trip, you're gonna run into. You're not. I'm into Canada now, so depending on where you're going, you're gonna have charging stations. It's not even just the U.S. There is Puerto Rico. I think I've seen some in Mexico. I know I've seen them in Europe, but I'm not gonna go that far and waste your time on that. But anywhere where you're going, if you're putting in saying, hey, I'm gonna go to New York, it's going to automatically route you to where you need to. And you see right now it's saying finding your charging stations. So I know on my trip to New York, I'm going to have to make a stop
onto North Grand Street
in Hendersonville at my current charge at 88%. But it's got me making 3 stops, which is pretty good between here and New York. So it's not going to be an issue where you're like, oh, I'm going to run out of power on the road somewhere. That's not going to happen. It's automatically going to send you to each charging station along your route. So that is not an issue. Let me cancel this. Charging at home that's another thing you may want to consider. Your charging options. Will you be able to charge at home, or will you use a lot of the free chargers? Excuse me on that real quick. I set my camera back up. Like I said, where I live downtown Charlotte, there's a outlet right behind me, and it's a 110 outlet that will take forever to charge. It's good on if I really needed to, but for me, there may be a block that way. There's a fire station that has some charge point stations. I think there are 8 of them, and it's level 2. Going that way toward CPCC. In fact, CPCC has one that's a few blocks away from me. A lot of the hotels, there's a bunch of free. There used to be one on Tryon in front of Discovery, near the Discovery place. People who live in Charlotte, that area. There used to be 2 chargers there, but I think they moved it. They're doing some construction. They're redoing one of the buildings, so they took it down. There's another one, maybe a block going that way, another free charging station. All these are free. So I don't really worry about this one here at 110, because I plugged it on that one before, and my gosh, is it slow. It's like, I think 5 miles an hour. So, if you can, you may want to try to figure out, okay, can I get a 220 outlet? Which we have a second property up at Baden Lake, and my wife has a she shed there behind our property, and we park our vehicles over there by the she shed. We back up to it. So what I end up doing is having an electrician run a 220 outlet installed behind the she shed, and I plug into that, and I get about 34 miles an hour on my charge, or 8 kilowatt hours, and that does me that hooks me up right there. And I think our power bill has gone up $10 or $15, but we're not there often. But when in the summer we spent a lot of time there, and that was my increase. And of course, with the scheduled departure, it's going to automatically set it to charge when your peak hours when you're not in your peak hours. So it's gonna, so with your peak hours, with electricity bills, if you're trying to charge during the peak hours, your power bill is going to be a little higher. So it does it like over in the middle of the night for me, and by the time I'm ready to go to work or go somewhere the next morning, it's, you know, fully charged, and it didn't cost as much because it did it during the non-peak hours. So that's something you may want to, and with getting an electrician to do it is not that big of a deal. I mean, I could have did it myself, but we were already constructing the she shed, so I just, while he was there wiring the she shed up, I just had him put that outlet there. But it's not that big of a deal. And of course you can order, depending on what type of plug you get, you can just order that type of 220 outlet from Tesla. I think it was like maybe if $30. I have two different types, because I was plugging my car into where our dryer was plugged in, so it took one type of 220 outlet plug, and so I ordered that one. And then when I installed another one, I installed a different outlet, which I think runs a little bit faster than one I was on, and so I have those two type there. So that is really not that expensive. All right, so we talked about cost, range, and with charging, the let's see, your price, your commute. Other than that, I mean, the styles of them are great. You can't go wrong. I mean, like I said, I would love to see what else is coming out with other EVs. I really do enjoy the Tesla brand, because of their charging network. It is a huge network. You meet a lot of, you meet some interesting people. There's some good people there as well. I would highly urge you, if you do get into an EV, try to find a club for it, because there are a lot of good tips from, you know, other users, and they can help you out on different things, like finding a electrician, or, you know, body work or whatever. I'm knocking on wood because I hope I won't need that. But like I said, I don't think you will go wrong with it. For me also, even with the model that I have, my insurance went down in compared to the car that I initially traded in. I traded in my wife's Mini Cooper. She had a 2017 or 18 Mini Cooper convertible, brand new at that, well, when we bought it, and it reached this 3-year mark, and I just did not want to try to maintain a BMW out of warranty, so I traded for the Tesla. And surprisingly, the insurance agent told us, hey, our insurance bill was going down because we were going with a Tesla, which was $100, which there's that savings there. So when you start calculating all the savings that you would get going EV, I don't know, for me, it fiscally makes sense, you know, for me. So I'm rambling on about it, but I thought about doing this because, you know, like I said, I talk to a lot of people and they're always on the fence about it, or they hear all the negative things about it. And part of that is because of our own YouTube network. A lot of people put out videos just to get likes and get people to click on it, and they do you'll see the thumbnails of people doing this, and the 15 things I hate about Tesla, the 15 things I hate about my EV, and it's just clickbait. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be a Tesla fanboy. No. I mean, if it's something screwy they're doing, I'll talk about it and talk about my experience with it. But so far, I hadn't had any negative experiences with going with Tesla. I'm sure there are going to be other makers that are going to be just as great. I want to test drive that Volkswagen ID4, and just get a feel for it and try some of the other ones. I have a neighbor who has a daughter that has the BMW's version of an electric vehicle. I would like to see that one to compare. Definitely, I would urge anybody, if you're on the fence, or even if you're just curious, I mean, just hop on, you know, Tesla's website, schedule a test drive, or you don't even have to test drive. It's a touchless situation. I mean, you just schedule it and, you know, show up and they'll have it ready for you, and you take it for a spin, and I'm telling you, it's gonna be like nothing you've driven before. And I'm sure as more and more EVs come out, you'll you're going to probably be forced to do it anyway. I mean, at some point in time. So, my only concern with, as more and more EVs become readily available, is the fact that a lot of my free chargers are going to be taken up by people who are getting into the EVs. And I think at some point, I think that these companies are going to start charging. Most of them aren't charging now. Some of them, like EVgo, they charge per hour or whatever. But a lot of these free ones that are out here, like ChargePoint, some of these other places, I think they're going to start charging, because I think at that point, as more and more people do it, now they realize, okay, now we have a market and now we can make money. I mean, I recognize everybody's in this to make money. So, that's my only fear. But if you charge at home or you're at work and you have chargers, I mean, you'll be fine. I mean, like I said, this one here, fully charged, says 350. I'm going to knock off and say I probably would get on a full charge. I'm just guessing it's probably going to be closer to 320 rather than 350. But all that, depends on weather conditions, driving conditions, how much cargo you're hauling, things of that nature. So also I would, I'll put this, it's not a plug for me, but I would just give this little tidbit to people. EVs are coming and they're here to stay, and a lot of these startup companies, you may want to start looking into investing in it. Do a Robinhood stock purchase of some of these companies. It might help you. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a financial person, but I will say, since I've done it, I've watched my Robinhood account grow. And I'm not even big into stocks, but I've put in a couple hundred. The most, I think I've put in $600 into Robinhood stocks, and I'm using all EVs, and I'm sitting at $1,300 now. So I kind of doubled my money, and that's knocking on wood as well, because that might change by the time this video gets out here. But so far it's working. So that's my little thing I would do, to help. I mean, use it if you want to. You don't have to, but like I said, I don't think you would make a bad decision going EV if you're just one of those ones that just like to roll coal, and like paying $3 a gallon for gas. I mean, I'm not knocking it, but I love to see you try to roll coal with me, because I'm gonna shoot past you. So especially in this one here. So other than that, y'all, I'm not gonna keep rambling on. I hope to see more of you out there. If you have questions, or like I said, I'm not an expert. I can just tell you about my experience with it. I'm not even gonna pretend to be an expert. So I can tell you what I've experienced, and I've like I said, this is my second one, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So my wife has finally come along, and she's enjoying it, and she's looking at road trips, and we're planning some. And like I said, I still got to upload my Savannah road trip, but I'm not gonna do that huge documenting road trips, because I think that's kind of a little TMI sometimes. With some people do that, but whatever they do to make money on YouTube, that's their business. So I'm not going to judge, but I'm just not going to do all that and just like, hey, we're here. And I'll just tell you if there's something weird with the EV, I'll do that. But our plan with our long range, and in the description of our channel, it kind of talks about that. Our goal this year is to hit as many farmers markets as possible and support local farmers. I have a thing for hot sauce, so I'm looking for, what farmers are producing good hot sauce. My wife are doing vegetables and whatever little weird thing she likes, but that's our thing there. So that's why we have the long range, and I want to try to hit as many farmers markets outside of Charlotte within a one charge, there and back. So like I said, we went to Savannah. I hit one up in Albemarle. I'm looking to hit. We did Durham. And so if you guys have some tips on different farmers markets, little obscure farmers markets, this season, just let me know on that, because I would love to. That's just our thing that we've been into now. We did it with our Jeep, but I really want to try with the ZV, hitting a bunch of farmers markets. So that's the other reason why I did that, because the Jeep was costly, and yeah, I just, this Tesla is going to be a lot better for that. So let me know if you guys have some farmer market locations that you may know about, or like I said, I don't care how far or how close it is, just let me know. I would definitely try to get out there, and I love supporting the small business owners. Hence why Tesla's not a small business owner, but all things considered, they were a small player in the group, so I do support those things. So all right, guys, that's my time. I'm out.